should I go back further?
No, right here. You want this on the back first?
Hi, Bob. How are you? Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Brian McNeil. I'm the area manager of local programming for Long Island West. We want to welcome you to the first of what we think are going to be meetings that we're going to be holding on a quarterly basis. And let me just introduce to you our esteemed panel here, if you will. To my right here is Maurice Cunningham. She's the regional director of public access programming, for all of the New York metropolitan area. There's Judy Delendick, who is the access coordinator for Long Island East. Diane Bennett, who is the access supervisor for Long Island West. And Amy Galumbo, who is the access supervisor for Long Island East. Give me 1 second.
Hello, you all.
Don't hold your applause.
Lou Turner, welcome to the public access meeting.
How are you today?
Is this Martin?
Actually, if you want to sit in the back, that would be great. Thanks. Fine to sit anywhere. Fine. As I said, this is the first of several meetings that we hope to be having, and what we're looking to do is kind of reach out to you folks and talk about the new public access kit that Cablevision is going to be administering as of July 1st, 2000, and really speak to you and get some feelings about the kit, and speak your feelings about the kit, and see whether or not we can address any of your concerns or issues at this time. As we've said in the kit, we are going to be, what we really like people to do as we go forward is, if as you have concerns, to please put them in writing and get them to us. We will try to address them as quickly as we possibly can and get back to you with responses on that. What's the matter?
We're redoing the room.
We're redoing the room, huh? And then what we're going to be doing is reviewing the rules and regulations on a quarterly basis and making necessary adjustments and changes that reflect both Cablevision's point of view and yours as well. So with that brief introduction, I just kind of want to open the floor, and everybody's here. We'd like to have an open and frank conversation. We'd like to have just one person speak at a time, and we'd like to address one issue at a time if that's possible. So we are in, obviously none of us want to be here until 11 o'clock this evening, so we want to.
Point of order, if I may.
Sure.
I don't mean to formalize it, but in terms of the conduct of the meeting, is this just an open discussion forum, or are we going to speak if we have some comment that we want to make, some questions that we want to raise? I mean, you had a sign in at the beginning. Is there any kind of order in which?
No, was that our sign?
Yes, we had one at the door.
It is going to be an open conversation. What we'd like to do, though, is to please only have one person speak at a time, so that we can keep some order and make sure that people get the proper responses and attention to their concerns.
Well, if I may, then
Okay.
commence.
Sure.
All right. Hi, my name is Philip Goldstein, and I'm the producer of a public affairs television program called Independent Thinkers, for the benefit of the audience. My concerns are political, and I'd like to talk first in broad generalities before I get down to specifics. Our nation is in deep trouble. Part of that problem has to do with media and with the ability of the public to access information and to see alternative points of view. And I point, for example, to the presidential debates as the prime example of the frustration that has been felt, in that the commission that now controls the presidential debates has pushed aside the League of Women Voters, who used to control it, and have usurped control. And that commission is made up of the establishment, the duopoly, as we independents refer to them, being the Republican and the Democratic parties. The chairpersons of that commission are former Republican and Democratic National Committee chairpersons. And they have taken control of the debate process as a means of trying to exclude alternative points of view. They succeeded in depriving Ross Perot of the opportunity to participate in the '96 election debates. And if they have their way, no third-party candidate will appear in the 2000 election debates. And I think that this is a tremendously great disservice to the American public in that they are deprived of an alternative point of view. And that, as I said, is the outstanding example, but it filters all the way down, right down to the local level. If we look at the history of elections, for example, on the one hand, we have the decline of voter participation. We can't get half the population to participate in a presidential election. And beyond that, when we get down to local elections, that declines down to the 30 percentiles. It's a shame on our democracy that people are unwilling to participate. And part of it is the feeling that they don't really have a choice, that somehow the market has been controlled. The market in this case being the candidates and the opportunity to see and hear from alternatives. Now that brings me to what we're here for tonight, and that is public access television. Public access television affords people like myself, I'm active in a third-party movement with the National Reform Party, with the Independence Party in the state of New York. It affords us an opportunity to reach out to the public and to present that alternative message. I've tried through the established media. I've complained about programs such as At Issue or the program that appears on WLNY run by Matt Crossan and what's his name, the head of
Long Island Disassociation?
yeah, well, whatever, right. The point is that they don't present alternative points of view. It's always an establishment point of view, whereas my program provides that opportunity for that alternative point of view. And there are others as well who are actively involved in that kind of media. Zabby is another person. Her programs as well represent alternative points of view. And I think this is vital for the well-being of our democracy. Now, I respect your allegiance to your corporation, but there is a greater allegiance, the allegiance to the well-being of this nation. And if we stifle free expression, if we allow monopolistic control to diminish the marketplace so that people don't have that choice, right, then we are doing a disservice to this country. Now, let me just cite, this is not just me talking, but for example, here's a newspaper article, Newsday. Losing niches to Nielsen. This is Diane Wirtz, who is a critic, complaining about the fact that television constantly gets rid of programs that are niche programs, that are micro-market programs rather than broadcast programs, and that we're always playing down to the lowest common denominator. This is an example of what I mean, where I say diversity is vital for the well-being of our society. We're always looking to maximize the bottom line, which is the corporate point of view. But there are other things more important in terms of the values to this nation that have to be preserved and protected. And when Congress and the state government saw fit to regulate the television industry and the cable industry and so on, they provided for public access television as a village green. You know, it's the equivalent of Hyde Park in London, where people can get up and say the most absurd things they want to say, but they have that freedom to do that. And that's one of the important freedoms that our nation enjoyed. First Amendment rights, the ability to be able to get up and speak out and express your point of view, and perhaps to reach out and coalesce with others who share your point of view, and this can have an influence on the direction in which our society moves. But now, we don't have that. We have this accumulation of power and wealth, this monopolization of the media. We just saw how the Chicago Tribune took over the Long Island Times, the Los Angeles Times, which in turn is the parent company, the Times Mirror Company is the parent company of Newsday. Slowly but surely, corporate America is taking over the media. And the point of view that we see represented on the media becomes the corporate point of view, the globalization point of view. And there needs to be an opportunity for alternative voices to be heard. And so therefore, I think it's vitally important that public access TV not only be preserved, but expanded. I would like to see a C-SPAN government-type channel. Those letters, PEG, P-E-G, represent public access, education, and government. And we are not utilizing those three media avenues to communicate with people. We have problems in the realm of education, we have problems in the realm of government, and more needs to be done to raise the level of awareness of people. And we're being deprived of that opportunity because, in this case, Cablevision is concerned with its corporate well-being and maximizing its profits, and in a sense, we represent competition. You're being forced to subsidize a competitor because we compete with you for the eyes and the minds of the public. And so therefore there's a conflict of interest that exists here. And I think it is wrong for you to control public access television. And in other jurisdictions, you don't have that. When I say you, I'm talking in terms of the cable industry. You don't have that prerogative. We have examples, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, where the public themselves has control, where a third-person intervener participates between the franchisor, the governmental entity that provides you with the means to communicate with the people of Long Island, and you, the cable company that provides all of the services. Inherently, that conflict of interest that exists between you and the franchisor has to be mediated. And by creating a third-party intervener such as Manhattan Neighborhood Network, that is the means to create the mediation that will prevent you from censoring us.
Bill, excuse me. Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
I think your point is well taken, but what I'd like to hear about is the package that we all got and change it.
All right, well, I said I was starting out with broad generalities. Okay.
I don't want to stay till 11.
Okay, I won't go on much longer.
Yeah, we need
There-
more nitty-gritty questions.
Okay, with regard to this, to my mind, exemplifies what's wrong. Because, for example, like here, the cable guide. What does the cable guide say about Channel 70? We have one channel, Channel 70, and it is referred to as public access local origin. It isn't even purely a public access channel. We don't have any guarantee in terms of the time and the retention of that channel. You're already thinking in terms of utilizing that channel in part for local origin programs that can provide you with revenue. I think this is terribly wrong, but it shows your mindset, and that is what I am opposed to. Plus, this document. This document was created by you. You are imposing your will upon us. We, the people, own your right-of-way. And our government representatives, in a sense, and this concerns me also, and that is the betrayal on the part of the government, has given you, in a sense, a monopolistic situation where you can dominate the marketplace. And I'm extremely concerned about this. This is something that needs to be negotiated. Now, I hope that these meetings are going to play a role in terms of negotiation. For example, there are things in here, people want to get down to the nitty-gritty. You want to charge $25 for me to make copies of my program beyond one copy. I think that's outrageous. If I have guests, I often have a panel of guests, and my guests express a desire to have copies of the program. It's embarrassing for me to have to say to them, well, why don't you just watch the program and tape it off TV? I mean, when I work out in Riverhead, for example, they have 3 different VCRs, and I can make 3 copies at the same time. There's no reason why I should have to pay you a $25 fee for each of the additional copies because I want to distribute copies. Or for that matter, I also make copies because my program is seen in various franchise areas. I have to make duplicate copies so that I can turn those copies over to the different stations in order to get my program viewed elsewhere. So it's a minor point, but it's a point. The other thing is, repeatedly in here, everything is in your sole and absolute discretion. Well, hey, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you talk and you use those kind of words, now I realize this is something drawn up by your lawyers, but even there, this is frightening. We are producers. We are ordinary lay people who have certain interests that we want to share with our fellow citizens, and we find that we need to hire a lawyer to review this thing in order to protect ourselves. You've done a wonderful job of protecting yourself, and I respect that. Okay, I understand, from your business point of view. But this is rather awesome from an ordinary person's point of view to be confronted with a document like this. I think this is something that has to be negotiated, and I think there also has to be a greater degree of flexibility. One of the things that I find very disturbing, we're volunteers, we're not paid. We have to scramble to get people to assist us in the production of our programs. One of the enlightened things that I would like to see Cablevision doing is creating a relationship with the educational system and inviting high school and college students to come into the studios and to learn the skills of TV production and to provide a corps of volunteers that can assist people such as those that are present here in producing the programs. Because it's very difficult to find people who have the time and energy and willingness and the desire to do this kind of thing. And so I think that in your role as a media organization and in your role as good citizens, corporate good citizens of America, I think you have to do more. I think it's incumbent upon you to assist to a greater degree in the success of public access television, going back to what I said originally, because it's important for the well-being of our democracy. There were some questions in here that I had.
Stop you 1 second.
Okay.
A couple of people that are raising their hand.
And there
Okay.
are a couple of things that we would like to address
Yeah.
before people lose sight.
All right, I'll
of
yield.
what you said. And we certainly, I certainly salute your presentation and your intention of public access being the soapbox. It certainly is. That was the initial and the basis, the basic reason for access, public, educational, governmental, was to provide that soapbox and that ability for people to be able to say something that they wouldn't be able to do in other places. And that's true, and it is there, and it's there for that reason. The rules and regulations that are in that kit are not new. The contracts that are in that kit are not new. There is nothing different about them. As you said, they've come to us from our legal department. Those rules now, over time, they have changed because the clause about political candidates came out. If you had read the rules 5 years ago or even 2 years ago, you would have seen a clause that said political candidates or anyone who had declared for public office was not allowed on the access channel.
Maurice, were these
That's changed.
Cablevision's rules, or was this New York State rules?
These are Cablevision rules.
Okay, I just
These
wanna
are the
make that
rules
clear that
prepared.
These are rules that you folks put together and not rules that New York State has.
Yes, these are Cablevision's. It says right on the top of the rules, Cablevision's public, educational, and governmental access rules. It does not say the state of New York. It says Cablevision. Have come to us from our legal department. The contract has come to us from our... We did take some things. The group that got together took a look at the rules, and after the trip that I made around, the excursion that I made around to all the cable systems, we listened, we took notes, we took a look at those rules, and the committee that met, representatives from Long Island, Connecticut, Westchester, New Jersey, even New York City, that has a third-party provider, because we wanted that sort of input into this package of information. We changed and asked the legal department if we could change a couple of things, like, I don't know, at one point it said give us 48 hours if you're going to cancel your time in the edit suite. We said that's a long time, but that was there in the rules before. If you didn't notice it, it was there. There were more days, farther days out that you had to give us the application. We said let's be more realistic and make it 30 days. So those are the types of things that we had the discretion to change. Our legal department gave us the definitions, gave us the indemnifications, which I think you will find universally. That is not a Cablevision in particular set of rules. There are universal indemnifications that protect the company. Should there be things that are put on a channel that we are responsible for and that we bear as part of our presentation to our customers. Therefore, what we did with the policies and procedures, as we went around, we found out that there were people actually in some areas that were still using the rules or still abiding by the rules that from the system that Cablevision had purchased. And so that the people really hadn't even seen Cablevision rules. There were other systems that had taken the Cablevision rules and were using them this way, whereas one system may interpret something this way, another system may interpret it differently. What we heard was, let's make this a universal experience. So our first intention with the policies and procedures was to say, here are the rules and here is what makes those rules work. This is how we all work together to make access work, so that the things that are in the policies and procedures are really an outgrowth of the rules, the contract, and just the general day-to-day, how many hours is it, depending on the number of people that are asking or applying for use of a studio or an edit suite, how many hours would it be good to say, let's have people reserve for this many hours so that the other people will have an opportunity. So really what is there is a universal interpretation and a universal implementation of the rules and the contract that have always been in existence.
I'm Janet Russell. My show is Beyond the Unexplained. I just want to say something about getting help. What I did personally, I went to BOCES and I presented the show that I have. I brought them a copy of my show and I asked if there was anyone there that would want to help me. Right now I have a director. The young man is wonderful. He is, I think, in the first or second year of BOCES. That if you go there, which is what I did, I've got some great kids helping me. And another thing I want to ask.
Yeah, but that should be institutional. It
Oh, I
shouldn't be
agree.
you as an individual.
But wait, I
If
just
you
want
read
to ask
the
something.
preliminary letter, those are the types of things that now that we heard in these meetings, and the letter that was attached to, not part of the KIP, it was part of the initial presentation, talked about the fact that we're going to create a list of volunteers. We're going to put and I have the sheet of it, is it up? All right. Here, and this is where this will be posted so that people can say, we are going to have interns. We've always had internship policy, internship programs. Thank you. We've always had internship programs. These interns will be as available as the volunteers. We will have our hours more formalized. We will make this, what it is that you said you wanted, we're working with you toward that.
I just would like to ask one more question, though. I see that they are supposed to get a certificate of completion. When will they get the certificate? Because they did finish. So I would like to know.
In fact, I have them.
Okay, because I have a group of 6 people, and I told them they would get that.
They finished the Cablevision training
Yes,
program.
they did, in
Let me show you.
Riverhead.
In fact,
I have a group of 9 people that finished it about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's real important, especially when they're going to BOCES, because that adds to their credits.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
really important, so.
So,
Could I ask a small series of short little questions, I hope?
sure.
I'm trying to understand that in July there's a big switch over, change around, right?
Okay.
But in order to be involved with that, we have to do something early in May.
Okay.
Let's make sure I got that information
Yeah,
straight.
I'm going to let Diane and Amy answer that question.
Sorry?
Let me just back up, sorry. Lori's finished that.
Yeah, I was just going to, this is the certificate that at this point we'll be using, so,
How will they get it, though?
well, I'll get the names of people as they finish their training courses, and I'm just going to do this on the computer in my location, send it back to Amy and Diane, and they'll make sure that the people get them.
They asked me.
That's why
Yeah, they
We're
asked me.
going to get some good answer questions. Well, can we take it one at a time if you don't mind? One question at a time?
Yeah, sure, yeah, all right.
And can you just address what's going to happen in May so that we need to...
Yeah, what goes on in May and when exactly and how does it work?
May 8th, we're going to be accepting all the applications.
May 8th,
May 8th at 9 a.m. That's when we'll be starting to accept.
right here.
Yes. Well, this is for the Hauppauge, Brookhaven, and Riverhead systems will all come here.
Hauppauge,
Hauppauge,
Brookhaven.
Brookhaven, and Riverhead.
All right, is iSlip separate?
Islip-
When you look at Newsday, iSlip is listed separately from Hauppauge.
Islip is, it depends on, I'm sorry to interrupt you, it depends on where you live in Islip. Some parts of Islip are on the Woodbury system, some parts of Islip are on the hot pot system.
So when I got this, is this all under this hall pog system?
It's a hot box system.
All this is hall pog?
Yes.
Okay, that's a big help. All right, so, okay, it's 9 o'clock, Monday morning, May 8th.
Yes. That's
Get
when
here
we're
early
beginning.
and, all right. Could I ask a follow-up on that?
Sure.
You know how when you have the application,
Yes.
you put down your first choice. How do you deal with, if you don't get your first choice, you want your second or third choice? How does that work? Because the form has only one, really, room for one. Let's say my first choice is Monday, 6 o'clock. Is there a way of saying, okay, can I have Tuesday? Or, you know what I'm saying? Can you have second and third choices in there?
Well, I spoke to someone who had an idea of, he wanted, if he said he wanted 7 o'clock, just said he didn't actually give me a time. Could he just put Monday through Friday? He didn't care what day. And I said, why don't you be specific? Because you don't want me to pick your day for you. Be specific, and if you come up, when I have your application, because it goes first come, first serve, when your application comes up, if someone has your time, I will notify you.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is, if you go ahead and notify, about 200 more people have come through
No.
and got your,
You-
because you don't have your second choice lined up. That's what.
No, I will call you and I will let you
Right
have
away?
the second choice.
See, I'm trying to understand the procedure, because okay, Monday, 6:30.
Well, what I'm going to do
Second
is,
choice would be Tuesday, 6:30. No way of indicating, so you can just say, okay, give them Tuesday instead of Monday.
We could
You see what I'm
put
getting
that-
at?
Is that right, third choice down there?
No, it's not, I don't think it's there, no, but we certainly can, yeah, we can make that.
So that way, let's say the second one in line.
Yeah,
the next step.
Let's say I'm the second one in line. My first choice, the guy in front of me gets the first choice. Can I have that second choice rather than waiting till 200 more people come through?
But there is a chance that your second choice may also be taken. So what I'm saying is if everything
I
that
have
you
5
wrote
choices down.
you don't need to put you don't need to put 100 choices down.
No.
If it comes to the point where you have something down there, everything is taken, you will be contacted. I'm not going to move on to the next person. I will contact you because you came at a certain time. It was a certain
Okay.
order. It is
So-
first come, first served.
So even though, let's say it's Monday, now it's Tuesday morning, and now the second one in line and my first choice is taken, you call me then say, the second person?
If you have,
Exactly right.
if you have a second choice, I'll take the second choice off your sheet. If you don't, then I'll call you.
And
You don't
we'll
have to
create
put
the
it.
application.
So the third person,
Yeah, there's a line.
so the third person behind me doesn't steal my spot, pardon by the way I say it.
Exactly.
Okay,
There's no chance
because that's
of
been
that.
one of the problems in other institutions where I've tried this approach.
That is not going to be an issue.
Okay.
If you're second in line, then you'll have
Second choice no matter what?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the wonderful thing of doing it in May, so that we do have the time to call everyone and reach everyone
Between
in
May
order.
and July, yeah. Well, this is one. All right, is it okay to follow up with a couple more things? You've been very helpful. I got this. This is strictly the hall systems, so that's okay. I mean, with a few variations. The next question is it possible, you know how we have public access, for us to see the times of the other public access programs beside my own? Is there going to be a listing so I can find out when his program is on? And
That's something that's going to be available. It's
Again,
listed
in the letter that came at the beginning of the kit, or on top of the kit, were the things that we are going to be instituting, and one of those is the list of the programs that are on and with their producers.
How is that list going to be disseminated?
Well, it will be available here at
Yes,
the
you can pick
system.
it up.
Right, so that means that the people that are,
mail, or
No, we'll probably just leave
The
it here.
peop-
so we
we got to come pick it up then? Like when we deliver our tape, we pick
that
it
means
up?
that the people that are on the inside, so to speak, that know where the list is and the list exists are the ones that have access, whereas one of my recommendations would be some other public access run facilities where they have a listing of every show for the day run in between every show that's run,
No, this
so
is-
that you don't, during the day, you'll know what's on.
Yeah, that's the daily, and we certainly are going to get into more publicity of the daily schedules or of the schedules of the programs. This is just a list of the producers so that you have a copy of all of the programs and their producers. And, I mean, we're talking about a bulletin board, having an access bulletin board. And we have a bulletin board so that people can put things, we can have the hours will be posted so that, you know, the volunteer list is posted, and those lists will be, and anything that you want to put up on that bulletin board, if you've had press that's been in the paper that you want to show on the bulletin board, you know, whatever, that is going to be available to access for people to be able to display things, and near there should be this list of, you know, whether it's in a slide-in thing and you just pick it up and take it.
And if I could add, the public file is available for your review, where you can come in and look at the applications and see what other users have as their choice for
For the
their...
time slots?
Yeah.
Okay, last question, I promise. Is there going to be more than one access channel or just one?
Right now in Hop Hog, we have Channel 25, which we're sharing with Telecare. And in Brookhaven, it's Channel 70, and in Riverhead, it's also Channel 7.
Right, so all these folks get 25. That's the only one that we have, and apparently it's enough?
Right now.
But 25 is only half of a channel.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's already programmed. That's why people wonder.
Well, we have priority. It's over Telecare as of right now.
It is the public access channel, Channel 25.
Because I think of Telecare most of the time.
Yeah, well, whenever public access programming does not appear on the channel, Telecare programming that exists. It is, make no mistake about it, it is a public access channel. No public access producer has ever been turned away because of a Telecare program.
Excuse me, that is not true, Brian. True. I was the first person, I believe, to challenge Cablevision when I spoke to Judy Delendick and I asked for a Saturday time slot for my model railroading show. I was told by Judy that there is no public access on the weekends. And I told Judy that a sponsor or a person who lives in the area, who's my associate named Tom Gleave, is requesting time on Saturdays at 4:30, and that he has right to use that channel before anybody else.
Right.
And she didn't know that at the time, and she went and checked, and I believe our show was the first show on Saturdays on the Telecare channel, not Telecare being on the public access channel.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is your show is airing on Channel 25
It
on
is
Saturday.
now, but I
So is
have
everybody
no
else's.
idea how many people before me, and that I had to challenge that,
Right.
were refused time, which I think is not exactly what you
How long
said.
was that, Rich?
Approximately, I'm just guessing, like 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, that
Because I've been
problem
on.
hasn't existed in well over 2 years.
No, I understand that, but that was what I ran into.
It existed a couple of months ago. Rick Jordan called me to say that he couldn't get Saturday morning here in Hopewell.
If it was, it's because another producer had the time slot. It wasn't because of the Telecare
We do
program.
have shows on
Well, it
Saturday.
wasn't a public access producer. It wasn't being used for public access, and he was denied it until he realized that he had the right and demanded it.
Well, we need to follow up because we don't, to our record, to our understanding, there is nobody that's been turned away. And if
I
that's,
approached Rick Jordan myself when I heard about this, and I had Rick Jordan, I believe, contact either Mark Shukin or Mike O'Neill, and Rick Jordan wrote back to me and he said, "Thank you so much, Richard Einhorn, because you told me exactly who to talk to, you told me exactly who to say," and that he did get his show on, at least in the Woodbury system now, right at 9 a.m.
yeah, I mean, please call us directly, call Amy directly. And as I said, it is the public access channel. Nobody in recent months has been turned away, and they will not be turned away.
Yes.
Okay?
That's an
Except for
improvement.
another public access.
Sorry?
That's an improvement.
I'm sorry, will Cablevision write to me this year and ask me to yield my time to the Telecare telethon,
No.
which you have done in the past?
No,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Next question,
There's a bit in here about the equipment that we're to start shooting our programs a half hour after we arrive, and to begin the second program 15 minutes after we finish the first program. Did I say that right? Yeah. But the equipment here, I use this studio, and the Chiron in particular is very difficult, and it took us an hour, if not more, to get started with our program. And I had guests sitting here waiting and waiting, waiting. So I just want to know, is it going to be improved?
Well, I understand, no problem. And also, this is your first time also, so I know that with the Chiron, the first shows are always the hardest. And I know there's certain times there, and that's usually because we've had problems in the past with people coming in. The time goes to 9:30 p.m. That's the studio hours, 5:30 to 9:30. They'll start a show at 9:15, and they'll be taping, and we try and be polite. We don't want to turn off the cameras when they're here. We want them to finish their show. So that's why we're trying to get people as motivated as possible to get moving. I do understand that the Chiron does take a long time. And if you're having problems, certainly come and ask someone because it can move along for you. There's certain tricks maybe we can show
Well, there's no
you.
one here. We shoot on Saturday, and no one's been able to work on the Chiron because nobody knows how to use it.
Okay, that's Charlie, so I'll work with Charlie on that.
Is the
So
Chiron,
Charlie's here.
I'm sorry, could you just tell me what version, or is this an old Chiron, or is this like a Chiron Cody?
It's a BP2, which is very old.
Very old.
We
Because
have-
the newer ones might be more user-friendly?
Well, we have a system, I'm not quite sure what the system was in Brookhaven, We had some problems reinstalling it here in our control room, so the engineer was working on that. And I know that they had to send out for something, so whether or not it does work, well, we're going to see if it'll work with the different switches. We tried it with two switches, so we had a
But
problem.
let me just go to that issue. I mean, and it's not because we want to stand over someone and say, you've got to start. It is because there are many groups who come into the studio, bring their group, sit down and say, okay, now we got the studio, what are we going to do tonight? And that's not, that you can't do that. You've got to keep moving along.
Yeah,
So
but
the
we're
intention.
setting the script, and our crew comes in,
And-
we bang, we get the camera.
It's not gonna be
And
an
we
issue.
don't intend to
But
say
it's the
to,
equipment holding.
yes, we intend people to realize that this is not where you do your pre-production. You come in, you use the equipment, and then you let the next group in. That's the reason for that. It's not to place restriction, but to keep people moving along so that the next group can start on time.
Can I just bring up one more point real quick? I submitted shows to Amy. I submitted for Hop Hog for Brookhaven, and then I submitted a tape out to Riverhead. The tapes all had 3 programs on the tape, and I was told that I was able to run them in these areas. I submitted the tape to you, Diane, and you said, oh, it's fine, I've got your tape. And I didn't hear back from you, and then Bob called me, and it's been since last Wednesday. Now I can't have those programs redone. I don't have the time, and I don't have...
3 tapes on the one program.
Right, and I specifically marked it, and I marked it very well, that there were 3 separate shows, and I was just disappointed that I didn't get a phone call right away saying, I can't accept this, because had I known Monday morning, I could have run out and had extra copies made and got them to you and got it on the air. But now I don't have the time to do that, and there was a show on that was timely.
Did Bob speak to you today?
Yes. And so I was just disappointed that
You're right.
I didn't receive a phone call
And we should.
right
We should
away.
let you know immediately. The problem with putting more than one show on a tape, obviously, is the fact that, you know, the operator error problem is the chance of getting the right program when the fellow is running multiple. And if we go to automation, which we'd like to, that automated tape is just going to go to the first video and play the first video, and will never go to the second and the third. So we have said in the procedures that we really need to have
So that
one.
is your reasoning for it, is because you're going to an automated system?
That plus, and even when it isn't automated, when we have a playback operator, it is really very, and as they leave our hands, we know that. We know there are 3 and that it's now time for the 3rd. He puts it in one week, they rewind it, they take it, they put it in the next week, and they go to the first video. They don't have the time because they're doing so many other channels at the same time
That has been
to
a
make
problem
certain
here
that they
with,
get to the second.
With Hop Hog and Brookhaven, because people supply us with one show for both systems, and we've had people that come in, if they don't pick up their tapes on time, we have shows that, we have 10 tapes with 3 shows on the tape. And it's very difficult for someone to come in and say, all right, well, this one's supposed to air on Brookhaven, this one's, you know, number 3 on tape 5 is supposed to air on Brookhaven, number 4 on tape 6 was there, and you go weekly with that, and there are problems. We have stickers that we indicate on each tape when we air it and what system, but when you have so many shows on a tape, it's hard to write, okay, no, show 3 aired here on this time. So that's why
For
come
tracking
July,
purposes, it really is very difficult.
So it's not that we're trying to sell tapes out there for somebody, so we want to make sure we run
Oh,
your
I know you're
correct
not
tape
making
at the
any money
right
on the tapes
time.
on purchasing.
Yeah.
No.
The gentleman in the back has been waiting.
Yes, he is.
Hi, we're new here. We have a show that's in production called the Joe and Eric Show. We have kind of a beginning question for you guys up there. We were wondering about the training and when the training takes place, if it's absolutely necessary, if you've had prior training through different facets. We, in high school, had a class called TV production that we were part of all the way from freshman all the way through senior year. And I mean, we know about mixing. I mean, we already have all that training. We were wondering if the training was absolutely necessary before applying for it.
yes.
It is absolutely necessary. Let me explain to you why. We have people who work in our local programming department that have worked for the company for years in a number of different capacities. You can go from any one of our local programming facilities and the equipment is different.
Okay.
And it is really meant to be, the training is really meant for you as opposed to for us. Because the last thing that we want to have happen here is you say, okay, you know, I used this other Chiron when I was in high school and I think I'm a fluent Chiron operator. On a Saturday, you come in here, and all of a sudden you say, okay, we don't have the person here to train you properly on our existing Chiron.
Right.
And so it's really more of a matter of bringing you up to speed on our current equipment.
Okay, and how do we find out when the training sessions start, where they are, and everything that's in these over here?
Well, we have forms.
Okay.
These forms primarily start in July, but you can always just give us a call and we will schedule. Do you have the whole group together?
Yes.
Then that's very easy. We'll schedule you right away.
Okay, so we call this number over here on one of these?
For the hot box system?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I can give you the number again at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
But for the training, I mean, as you said, if you took classes, it's just going to make it easier for you.
Right.
So it'll just be a basic review. But we just want to make sure you are familiar with it so you can do it on your own.
Okay, good.
Mr. Gilbert, Gilbert behind, he's had his hand up, just, I'll get to you right now.
Yes, Lieutenant Cornell, Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County. I produce a show that we have to reach entire Suffolk County. Actually, there's a Cornell Cooperative Extension in every county in New York State. And we all have our own little responsibilities. We have to reach basically Long Island. And I know, I guess Mark here has to reach most of Suffolk County, and there are a few other educational government type people who have to reach the entire Suffolk County. And the problem I see that's been there constantly since the 20-something years I've been involved with the various cable companies who've come down through the years is that it's a different channel, a different time on every single station.
Right.
For a while you did something that was good. You had Channel 1, right, and you had a regional thing going, and which made it easier for us to reach our audience.
Right.
I guess what I don't understand is why you can't make all the channels the same for Suffolk County, right, or Suffolk and Nassau County, Long Island, however you want to put it, since Cablevision owns the whole ball of wax now. That's one thing. A major thing that I've seen through the years that has been a major problem. The other thing is I don't understand why, and maybe I can make an official request now to have you guys provide more than one channel, an educational channel, a government channel, and a public channel. So that way, we're not all crowded together on one channel. I know News 12 repeats day and night. We see it over and over again. I think that independent producers, educational producers, and government producers should have their shows repeated. And I have a real problem with that. I mean, I don't understand how New York State has this minimum requirements that any cable company with more than 21 channels is supposed to provide public education, and it could have a shared government access if there's a certain amount of usage and all these other little things, but basically minimum requirements are 2 channels dedicated, and here you're sharing it with Telecare. And I know, I mean, I spent a lot of time producing a regular monthly show that I've been providing for over 20 years now to the cable companies. I'd like to have people see it. Right. You know, and I'm on twice a month on a Saturday at 9:30 one time, and every couple of times a month or something. Right. It's like people don't really get, I mean, in Riverhead, I'm on a couple of more times. People I know see me in Riverhead. In East Hampton, I don't think they even air the show. I mean, when I have people monitor it, it's not on. And
You're talking about LTV there?
LTV out there. I know, that's nothing to do with you, but now, we're talking Hop Hog because this is where we are now. Right. Okay, but in Hop Hog, I know I'm only airing twice a month at a time when, you know, I really don't think we're reaching people the way we should with our educational information. And I don't understand, how does Cablevision get out of the minimum requirements that New York State has laid down? I don't understand that.
We're not getting out of anything. What it is if a particular channel is full, okay, we need to fill up the first channel first, okay. When we get to a point of filling out a channel completely, 24 hours a day of its access, then you would consider opening up a second channel. Right now, the demand for what you're describing, although as important as it may be, isn't to the point where multiple channels need to be opened up.
Well, it is. I'm saying it is. It's been that way for 20 years. I know people get discouraged and go away. The contract's getting more complex. I mean, you even have in your contract, your current contract says that if someone can promote the show, that we have to run it by you, and we have to sign a contract that says we're responsible if someone else is on our show and tells someone about promoting it. So how can I control someone who's on my show if they tell someone else that this show's going to be on TV? You know what I mean? It's like this, I mean, there's a lot of things in the contract that are very scary. And I've been hearing the same excuse for 20 years that there's not enough shows, there's not enough this, but I hear lots of people walking away who've given up. You know what I mean? So there definitely is a demand, and I know I want my show on in Hop Hog more than twice a month. Is there any way I can get it on more than twice a month?
Yes,
You know, I mean,
on May 8th. Put what day you want on the week, and if you're the first one, you have that spot. If you say 8 o'clock Wednesdays, you're the first one, you have 8 o'clock Wednesdays.
okay, well, I'll put it up on
Yes.
Run it every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
April? Okay.
Amy,
Amy?
May 8th, 9 o'clock, that's when we're accepting applications. And that's why we have the 13-week contract, really, so everyone can get the spots that they want, because right
I
now,
did
there's a
not
lot of
receive
people.
your PEG access rules, your contract from this cable territory. I received it from Riverhead, I received it from Nassau.
Okay, we'll get your copy.
I may have picked up what I need, I don't know. But,
I just want to...
different from the
Yeah.
other one?
No, the
No,
basis, the
May 8th.
contract is the same. The rules, the contract, and the policies and procedures are the same. The difference is the beginning section and the ending section. The beginning where it says, "Dear public access user," because there are differences in the systems, and the end because the equipment is different. However, everybody who has a studio has the same policies and procedures with the studio. What is also different, the letter that was attached at the beginning is different because different systems are doing different
So,
things.
as far as getting the other channels, it doesn't look likely, or how,
Well, let's put it this way.
how do you get away with the 2 minimum channel requirement? I mean, don't you have to provide 2 channels? And that's what the laws say that I read. I've been studying the FCC laws, New York State laws.
People in the company who deal with those things, from our government affairs people to our corporate programming department, who deal with those issues. They say to us, you know, here is the channel, and we make every effort to make that work. And I'm certain our
Again-
government affairs department is aware of regulations and knows and provides for those regulations.
If you know of somebody that been turned away, please have them call either Maurice or I, and we would make sure that that's not the case.
Well, I'm hoping that possibly you could add the programs a little more, all the programming, because it's kind of hard to catch some of the odd times. Some people are on at weird times. I think if you repeated it, do you repeat it during the night like Riverhead does, or?
No, I don't believe they do.
No? I mean, don't you have it automated so that it could just go on and do its own thing while you walk away kind of thing? No?
Not in this particular case.
Oh, okay.
Wait, in Hop Hog?
It's automated to an extent, we only have a certain amount of decks.
Yeah.
So we have 4 decks, we can automate it for a certain amount of hours, but then someone has to be here to put in the new tapes.
Right.
So it's not a...
It's not a true automation.
Maybe you could
It's not a true
automate some of it during the night, maybe
Well,
some time, or,
absolutely.
because I really would like to, and this is the largest territory that's division. Cablevision Hop Hog is the largest territory. I'm trying to reach Suffolk County people with our educational information.
Okay.
And I'd hope that you consider adding another channel so that it isn't crammed there with telecare too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bob?
Okay. Okay, there's about 20 things that I see wrong with the new rules and contract. Some of them are beyond your control. Some of them will probably have to be litigated to get an answer to. Okay, but I just want to talk, since you're here to talk about this program that began over this past summer, I want to concentrate on that. Maurice said that you were trying to make uniformity throughout the metropolitan New York area. Okay, that's really an impossible task. We're talking about 3 different states with different laws. We're talking about perhaps 200 franchise contracts, each of which is slightly different. And it's very hard for me to see, just on Long Island, under New York State's laws, how it's possible to have uniform rules.
I can assure you that the rules were passed through our legal department. They were not our decisions, so.
No, I'm not saying they were.
So our legal
Let me say,
department is.
everyone here in this
right.
room, I'm sure, wants to do the best they can for public access producers.
But I'm saying that the legality was checked through the legal department, so they would certainly have alerted us if there were things, and since the rules came from the legal department, I'm comfortable that they've handled the legalities.
Well, the legalities were that you didn't even have the one channel, at least in the Woodbury system where I live until about 2 years ago.
That's
You got
not part of the rules.
the optimum system, and then you created channel 80. Before that, there wasn't even one channel for public, educational, or governmental.
But that's
So the
not really
lawyers,
part of the rules, though.
I'm sorry,
That's
of
not
the
really part
current
of the rules.
rules that you're submitting now.
Right, that's
Right.
not part of the rules.
I-
The number of channels is not involved.
Although they
with
are
the
part of
rules.
the Public Service Commission's rules, and as Mr. Turner said, for a system with more than 21 channels, one public access channel dedicated to public access 24 hours a day is required, and then a governmental and an educational channel can share one channel. So I think that's quite clear in the Public Service Commission's rules.
Okay, but we're talking this evening about the
Right.
Cablevision.
Okay, so let me go
access.
to those, and I think it is riddled with editorial control of content.
And
so
perhaps we can talk about some of the reasons behind some of the policies, that they are policies that you're talking about.
Well, I'm saying you spoke about indemnification. I quite agree with you. Public access producers have to be responsible for what they put on. And that's why there's a disclaimer in front and following the program. And I don't understand why Cablevision should have any control over the program's content, given those disclaimers, and there's no need for the indemnification. So I don't know, what kind of games you lawyers are playing, but...
I'm sorry, you don't understand the need for the indemnification if there are disclaimers? Is that what
That's
you're
right.
saying? Oh,
That's
okay.
right. Can you answer that, or do we want to leave that to the department?
It certainly, the indemnification means that if something happens within the program and somebody is coming to sue, that we have a document that says that you have taken responsibility for the
But we have taken
content.
responsibility with a disclaimer in the front and a disclaimer in the back.
I don't think that a disclaimer running on a program has a legal, but I'm not.
Okay, granted that we sign and accept responsibility and make Cablevision harmless from any lawsuit. Why then do you feel the need to supervise the programming and exercise this absolute right over the content of it and the right of refusing to show it?
Again, that's something that came from the legal department and has always been in the rules.
But Bob, your question, you're not suggesting that Cablevision doesn't have the right, if something is indecent or obscene, to...
Well, that would be the only thing that's specifically in federal law and state law.
Right.
Incumbent upon you not to
We have to
show.
look at the program.
Right.
That's what we're saying, but that's the only...
No, you're not saying that. You're saying that anything you choose not to show, you don't have to, and the contract public access user, channel user, is signing to agree to that in order to get his programs accepted at all. Do you understand my point?
I understand, and it is, the contract does say that.
That's right.
Cablevision has
That's right.
is the last rung on the ladder
Right,
is
so
a
you're
Cablevision.
exercising editorial control.
Have you ever
Conservation of-
experienced a time when Cablevision has arbitrarily, for no reason
Well, I
that
know of
was
several
not...
cases. I know of a woman who put some material on about political corruption in Nassau County, and her program was canceled. Okay, and the court had to put it back on the air. I know of another program that was taken off because a candidate was going to be aired. And Cablevision canceled the program, and an injunction forced you to put it right back on.
Because the political candidate didn't, that just came in...
But the only reason you have that change in the rules is because of this judge's ruling.
No, actually, it's because of something that came out of Washington not that long ago.
I'm
just
sorry.
followed the rules. Okay, whatever.
Okay, there may be something I'm not aware of. Okay, so you've already exercised censorship illegally and been slapped on the wrist by a court for it. And now you're asking us to go along with further censorship. And I have to say that I will be very reluctant to sign the contract. And if it stands the way it is, and that's the only way I can put programs on, it will mean another lawsuit.
Are you Have you compared the contract with your previous contract?
Yes.
And found that that was not there
Right,
previously?
If you want, I'll show you the particular sections. Okay, afterward, there's no sense taking up everyone's time.
Can I just clarify something? If I had a political candidate, running candidate on my show, that's permissible?
Now it is, yes.
Well, I need to know.
To go back to the equipment, the Chiron equipment, it's my understanding that I'm Barbara Goldberg, excuse me. In the franchise agreement, doesn't Cablevision have to provide equipment that works? Not old equipment that the engineers have to chase around to find parts for?
Our equipment is not old. The equipment, absolutely. A Chiron VP2 is not an old piece of equipment by any stretch of the imagination.
It's slower than other things, but it does work. And we've had different instances where maybe a camera broke down, but we had a replacement right away. That may have been a day that maybe we had to bring it from another facility, but it's something that now we have an engineer here every day, and we do maintain the studio. It is slower and it is difficult. I'm not going to say it's not difficult to work with, but we do set up special training for people just for the VP2 if they're having a difficult time with it. And there's a quick guide in there also to help people. And I know that you had problems with Charlie helping you, but there are people
works
here
fine,
that are trained
okay.
for it.
There's a gentleman
It just would seem to me that if you're limiting people to the number of hours they can be here and how quickly they have to get their program moving, I don't think Cablevision is running at a deficit. I think they can probably afford to put in a Chiron that's state of the art.
No question. If and when, this is the first, I mean, we really haven't heard that there's an issue, and actually the gentleman in the back just said it works fine as you were
You
speaking.
might not be experienced with other real state-of-the-art systems, with all due respect.
That's not true. That's not true.
Well, the VP2 is not a relatively new machine.
We
And
never said,
you just said that, I just wrote it down. You said that
It requires, any piece of equipment
it's not
requires a
old, the
little bit-
VP2 is old.
VP2 or any piece of equipment you're using, if you're using a Mac and using a PC, each one of those two handle a little bit differently. So you have to learn the idiosyncrasies of the equipment that you're using.
That's true.
Very simple.
Yes, Glendora.
My name is Gina Lollobrigida. And I would like to report to you, pardon my back, but it's better than my front. I would like to report to you last night in Rockland, there was a public access meeting. There were 70 public access producers there, and it was a near riot. The people were unruly, they were noisy, they were rude to the point of being rude. They were very upset. And many of them walked out. They just got up and left. First 10 or 12 got up and left. And then some more talk, and they said, "You're wasting our time. Why do you come and put this on the table and tell us this is what you wanted, and we would say whether we wanted it?" And at that point, when he said, "You're wasting my time," he got up and walked out, and about 20 more walked out. The melee lasted from 7 p.m. to about 9:30 p.m. Now, that is my first piece of information. Just on the side, I say that the VP2 is a superb machine. I have 120 pages stored on my disk 4. I have something like 50 pages stored on my disk 3, and so on my disk 2 and disk 1. I do not think that ours is slow at Minimum. I think it's fine. It comes up the way it should. I do not think it's slow. I think it's just fine. I would like to speak to what Marie said about the legal department. The legal department, Charles Foreman, is an idiot. He allowed Cablevision in 1993 to exercise editorial control over Chatwick Glendora, because Glendora was on TV saying that Galata and the Commissioner of Consumer Affairs were not protecting the consumers of Nassau County by letting Scott Lord operate an underground lawn sprinkler system without a Consumer Affairs license. And so, upon information and belief, Galata, and Picken got together with Cablevision and said, get the name off the air, excuse me, off the table. And that came about, and that very night, that was the end of a chat with Glendora on Veterans Day, 1993. Now, former should have told them that in their ignorance and their arrogance, they broke two very important laws, federal and state. No cable operator can exercise editorial control over public access. They were done. They lost in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester. They lost in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, and they lost in the United States Court of Appeals, Second Circuit. The ruling was that plaintiff has a statutory right to be on TV and must be returned to TV. So I have no faith in your legal department at all, and I don't think that if there's anything illegal in this kit that Mr. Goldberg spoke about, that the legal department would have taken it up. I just have no faith in that at all. Now, my final announcement is that I'm going to sue Cablevision. I'm going to sue them on the basis of improper restraint of free speech. I'm going to sue them on limiting and prohibiting public access. You cannot limit or prohibit public access. It's a New York State law, Public Service Law 829-3. And for editorial control, which is a violation of Title 47 U.S. Code Section 521 et sequitur. I'm going to chew them about the channel changes. People don't know where to find me. Chat with Glendora used to get something like 43 telephone calls since it's been changed around. It's gone down. Even one night it was only 3, and last week it was only 16. And of course, a violation of 22 New York Code Rules and Regulations 595.4. They are not in the spirit of public access. Cablevision is not a public access friendly cable system. I am on 22 systems. They are not public access friendly. Of course, I will sue them for no system-wide public access in 20 municipalities in Westchester. I hope that never happens to you out here. And no editing in Westchester. And I'm going to sue them for getting up at midnight that I have to order my editing. And I have 7 defendants. The lead defendant is going to be James Eldon. And it is being written now. I started to write it today.
Thank you.
Okay, yes.
I'm not pissed at you guys like everybody else is. I just have a question of, say we start our show and we get the time slot like Wednesday at like 10:30 at night. That'll be played, and we ask to be played every night. That'll be played like every Wednesday, 8:30. No, it won't just switch.
I mean, we wouldn't mind if it was even later at 2:30 in the morning, but if we asked for it, it would be, we could get a set time, like once a week.
Get a certain time for your contract.
Awesome.
Okay, cool.
13 weeks.
And if nobody...
13 weeks, a quarter.
Yes.
And each quarter you reapply?
Yes.
Yes.
Public
What times
access.
a year?
I'm sorry?
Part of the new rules and regulations is to make sure that we administer public access on a first-come, first-served basis. Part of that policy is that we're going to be administering a 13-week contract, meaning that the time slot that you give to us, that you receive when you fill out your original application, if you come back to us in the middle of that contract and say to us, listen, I'd really like to have that same time slot, and nobody else has requested it, you're allowed to have that time slot again for the following 13 weeks.
Okay, and one other thing I got confused on. Somebody said something about promotion. If we were to do, we have connections for different places of business, and they had told us before we knew about the rule maybe that we would be able to come in and do a promotion at the restaurant. That we'd be able to say our show is going to be on at such and such time. That's not okay? It's okay if it's not okay. We just want to make sure.
Can you clarify that a little? Do you want to...
Yeah,
I want them to announce it at the restaurant, or do you want to announce it on your show that you
there's gonna be posters up in the restaurant. There's gonna be like
posters and revenue. It's not that your show is going to come from that place.
No, it's not gonna come from that place. No, it's just gonna be advertised.
That's fine.
That's where it works. Is if people come in.
The idea with the publicity, and when you talk about not being able to promote your program, yes, you can certainly promote your program. But legally, Cablevision owns the name of Cablevision.
Right.
And if you're going to use the name of Cablevision in your promotion, it is our requirement that we just see your press release. We do not withhold permission for any arbitrary reason. Let us see it. Let us see it, we give permission, and it goes up. But you can't use our name, Cablevision's name, without Cablevision's permission.
So we can say it's going to be aired on channel 71,
Yes.
leave Cablevision's
Yes.
name
Yes.
out of it,
Correct.
You don't have to show it.
and,
That's correct.
oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question about this funding release. You mean that we can actually have people fund us instead of taking it out of our own pocket? I was never told this from day
Well,
one.
you can't advertise them. You can't say, whatever if it's a corporation
Well,
that's giving you
all right.
money, you can't say, oh, you know, this is a great company, buy stuff from them.
Can I just say
You can
thank you
say-
to so-and-so?
You'll
Stacy
see,
and the
you'll
kid.
see in the
Wording.
policies and procedures, it's very specific about how you can credit this.
It's coming out of my pocket for 25 stations.
Well, there, and again, that's
It's a
why
lot of
we're
money.
doing this standardization. It's
A lot of
been
money.
done in several systems, several areas, and other areas just have not.
Will they eventually have everything on VHS instead of me having to have certain shows are on 3/4, certain shows are on VHS?
Where do you still do the 3/4?
Yeah.
I bring the 3/4 here,
Take SVHS.
and what about VHS? I don't have.
VHS, yes, you can take
And
VHS.
also, well, I send it to Brooklyn, and I send it to Manhattan, and that's, no,
That's
actually,
not us.
sorry, Brooklyn and Queens, they're 3/4.
That's,
Yeah, no,
we can
Yes,
take
you can send us VHS all cable.
Only one show on per tape, that's what I've been doing.
That's correct.
I'm sorry?
Which format do you prefer?
The highest quality.
Yeah, the highest quality. We can take everything. We
could
can
have
take
high
beta,
quality
3/4,
You
SVHS,
could,
VHS.
you could. Right, I mean, we would prefer it to be on 3/4 inch tape or super VHS. If need be, you can certainly supply it to us on VHS.